Good morning, Year 9. So today we're going to carry on looking at inequalities. We're going to start solving some inequalities. So your do now task is going to be to solve some equations rather than some inequalities because the process is quite similar. So we're going to have a look at solving these inequalities here on the right hand side, and then we're going to fill them in on the kind of cross number grid. So let's just go through a couple together and then you can carry on your own. So we're going to look at question 1 here. I'm just going to do it down at the bottom of the screen where I've got a little bit more room. So I've got 4x add 18 equals 6. So I need to get x on its own. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides of the equation. So I'm then going to be left with 4x on the left hand side, and on the right hand side I'm doing 6 take away 18, which leaves me with negative 12. Then I need to get rid of this times by 4. So to get rid of times by 4, I'm going to divide by 4. So I get x equals negative 12 divided by 4, which is negative 3. So my answer to question 1 across is negative 3. So here's 1 across, so going across the page, the negative sign is going to go in my first box and the 3 is going to go in my second box. Some of these answers are positive, some are negative, some are also decimals. So if your answer is a decimal, the decimal point will take up a square within your grid. So this worksheet is uploaded to show my homework as well, or you can just pause it and have a go at the questions now if you prefer. Okay, so pause the video now and have a go at those questions for about 5 minutes. Okay, here are your answers to the do now task. So if you pause the video again and mark your answers, I've filled most of them in on the grid because I couldn't quite fit in the answers to the down questions. There wasn't enough room. So check the grid to find your answers for those. So pause now and mark those ones, please. Okay, so most of the time when you're solving an inequality, you solve it in exactly the same way to the way that you solve an equation. There are some situations where that's not the case, but we're not going to look at that today. We'll deal with that more in another session. So I'm going to rewrite my inequality just down here so that I've got some room to do my working. So the question's asking us to solve this inequality and represent our answer on a number line. So like with the starter task, we are just going to get rid of everything we can so that we've got x on its own. So our first step is to subtract 6 from both sides of my inequality. So I'm then going to be left with 3x is greater than or equal to 12 take away 6, which is 6. I'm then going to divide both sides of my inequality by 3. So then I get x is greater than or equal to 2. So I'm going to fill in some numbers on my number line. Start with 2 around the middle, a few numbers either side. And so my inequality says that x is greater than or equal to 2. So it can be equal to 2, so it's a filled in dot, and it's greater than, so an arrow going up the number line. What I'd like you to do now is to pause the video and have a go at doing the very similar question on the right hand side, representing your number line as well. Okay, so check your answer then with mine. So we first of all added 3 from both sides of the inequality. We then divided both sides of the inequality by 5. So we then had x is less than or equal to 4. So I filled in some numbers on my number line, so it can be equal to 4 and it's less than. So going down the number line like that. Okay, so these next two are quite similar, but this time our unknown, our x, is on the right hand side rather than the left hand side. We're going to leave that as it is to begin with, and we can flip that round at the end if we need to. So 15 is greater than 4x add 3. So my first step then is going to be to subtract 3 from both sides. So I'm going to be left with 12 on the left hand side and 4x on the right hand side. I'm then going to need to divide both sides by 4. So I'm then going to have 3 on the left hand side and x on the right hand side. So if I read that going from left to right, that says 3 is greater than x. If I read that going from right to left, it says x is less than 3. So if you prefer to write it around the other way, you can do. So if you want the x on the left hand side, we just need to make sure that the small part of my inequality was next to the x before. So again, I need the small part of my inequality to be next to the x. So x is less than 3. So I'll write 3 around the centre of my number line, and then it can't be equal to 3, so it's a non-filled in circle for that one, and its x is less than 3, so we're going down the number line like that. And now we need to pause the video and have a go at the question on the right hand side, and then we'll go through that together in a second. So pause the video now, please. Okay, so this second question here, then you should have added 3 to both sides, divided both sides by 2, and then I've just flipped it round. So to begin with, it said x is less than, 10 is less than x. So I've then written it around the other way. So x is greater than 10. So x cannot be equal to 10, so a non-filled in dot, and x is greater than 10, so going up the number line. Okay, these next two are similar. We've just got some brackets to be dealing with here. So the best thing to do for these questions is to expand your brackets first of all, and then just to solve them as before. So 4 times by 3x is going to give me 12x. 4 times by negative 1 is going to give me negative 4 is less than or equal to minus 16. So I now need to add 4 to both sides. So I'm at minus 16 on the number line, and I'm going up by 4. So I'm going to go up to minus 12 there. And on the right hand side, I'm just left with a 12x. So I then need to divide both sides by 12. And so then I have x is less than or equal to negative 1. So filling in my number line, so I need x is less than or equal to minus 1. So filled in dot, and it's a less than. I'd now like you to pause the video and have a go at this one on the right hand side. Okay, so you should have ended up with x is less than 5, which we then could have drawn on the number line there. Okay, so your first set of questions to be having a go at. I would like you to spend some time working from each of the 3 tasks. So don't spend your whole 20 minutes working on one of the tasks. This sheet is on Show My Homework as well. It has a task 4 on Show My Homework. Don't complete any questions from task 4. So 20 minutes to have a go at some of those questions and then mark your answers. So pause this video now and have a go at some of those questions for about the next 15-20 minutes. Okay, here are your answers then to worksheet number 1. I would like you to pause the video again so that you have enough time to go through and mark all of your answers to those ones. Okay, so we're now going to start solving some inequalities where we've got 2 inequality symbols within the same question. Okay, these aren't actually any more difficult, although they look a little bit more complicated. This time we're then asked to list the possible integer values for x. We did some questions a bit like that last lesson. So I'm just going to rewrite my inequality here so I have enough room to do my working. So if I read from the centre going left, it says 3x is greater than minus 9 and 3x is less than or equal to 15. So because I've got a 3x there, I want to just have an x there, so I need to divide by 3. I need to divide everything in my inequality by 3. So I need to divide this -9 by 3 and the 15 by 3. So everything in the inequality is going to be divided by 3. So the -9 divided by 3 is -3. 3x divided by 3 is x, and then 15 divided by 3 is going to give me 5. So this then says x is greater than -3, but less than or equal to 5. So my possible whole number answers to that, it can't be -3, but it can be -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it can be equal to 5 because I've got that equal symbol there. I'd like you to pause the video now and have a go at this question on the right hand side. Okay, so you should have subtracted 1 from everything and then divided everything by 12. So we then end up with, reading from the centre going left, we've got x is greater than or equal to 0, but x is less than 3. So it can be 0, 1, 2, and it cannot be 3. So those are my only options, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, again, very similar questions. This time you're going to need to expand the brackets before you start. So I'm going to expand this set of brackets to begin with. So I've got 10x add on 5, which is less than or equal to 35, but it's greater than -45. I'm then going to need to get rid of this +5, so I'm going to subtract 5 from everything. So I'm down at -45, I take away another 45, I'm down at -50. I'm at 35 and I take away 5, so I end up at 30. So I then need to divide by 10, divide by 10. -5 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 3. So x is greater than -5, but less than or equal to 3. So I've got -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and it can be 3. Can you please now pause the video and have a go at the question on the right hand side? Okay, so quite a lot of options for your answers for this one on the right hand side. Anything from -10 up to +6 for that one. Okay, so the next worksheet I'd like you to have a go at is these types where you're needing to solve with two inequalities. So probably you're going to spend about 12 minutes working through these questions to give you some time to mark your answers as well. So the first set of questions, which is question 3, you need to solve it and show your answer on a number line rather than listing your possible inequalities, your possible integers. So that's similar to some of the number lines that we were doing last lesson. And then for question 4, you just need to solve it. You don't need to show that on a number line. Question E and F, we haven't looked at types quite like that, so those are extension questions. Just think about, to get rid of that divide by 2, you're going to need to times by 2. We'll look at more of that type in our next lesson. So pause this video now and have a go at some of those questions, please. Here are your answers to those questions. So if you pause this video now, then you can quickly check through them. I've not drawn the number lines for all of question 3, but hopefully if your inequality is correct, then your number line will be fine as well. So pause this video now to check those answers. Okay, just to finish off for today then, we're going to have a quick look at a kind of worded question here. So kind of in context type inequality. So Lauren goes to the supermarket, she has £50 to spend. She bought a t-shirt and 3 pairs of leggings. The t-shirt costs £23, each pair of leggings costs X pounds. So the two things that you're going to need to try and do are to form an inequality given what the information that we've been given above, and then to try and solve the inequality. So pause this video now to have a go at those two questions. Okay, so here's your answer to that then. So we needed to form an inequality. So we know that she needs to buy 3 pairs of leggings, and each pair of leggings is going to cost her X pounds. So I've got 3 pairs of leggings, each at X pounds. So that's going to be 3 lots of X. So that's how much she needs to spend on her leggings. She's also spent £23 on her t-shirt. Now she's only got up to £50 to spend, so those two things added together needs to be less than £50. So that's your inequality for part A. Part B then is exactly what you've been doing today. So we now need to solve that inequality. So we're going to need to subtract 23 from both sides. So we've got 3x needs to be less than 27. And then we're going to divide both sides by 3. So x needs to be less than 9. So that's telling us that each pair of leggings needs to be less than £9 for her to be able to afford those. Okay, hope you have a good rest of the day, and we will do some more work on inequalities on Thursday's lesson.